We're back with another episode with my little sister. She's with her big brother. We're experimenting today. I don't know if I told you this, but we've been doing the last few episodes just on YouTube. This one I switched it up, and we're on a few other channels as well.
Oh, great!
So if you're watching from a channel that's not YouTube, let us know in a comment so we know where the people are tuning in from. But anyway, I'm here with my little sister, Amy. I'm her big brother, Derek, and we are talking about her feminine energy today. Psych. Do you wake up and you go, hey, I feel my feminine energy coming on strong today?
I never have ever thought that.
All right. So what we did today in our preparation for the pod is we looked at a few questions that we found on Reddit, on the Ask Men and Ask Women section of Reddit. And we aimed to pick. We ended up doing it a little bit different. But anyway, we picked out the questions, and then we'll see where this goes and if we keep this as a theme moving forward. So I'll say the lady can go first. Does that mean I ask you first, or does that mean I let you go first by reading my question first?
I guess I would be explaining first.
Okay.
I get to talk more.
All right. So question number 1 from Reddit, asking women, is what caused you to do something toxic?
What causes me to do something toxic?
Or what caused? It might be a one-time moment, a one-time event, or I suppose you could talk about it in general as well if you continue to do toxic things on an ongoing basis.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. So anytime something happens, like anytime I make a mistake, and
which happens like once a month, or
hardly ever. Anytime I make a mistake and then I'm not given like any grace for it, like I make a mistake and then Jeremy's like, oh, I can't believe you did that, and I'm like, oh, you never make a mistake, right? And then I'll like end up. So okay, example. This morning I burned the biscuits. Right? So I was making biscuits and I burned them. And then Jeremy goes, oh, you burn things all the time. And I was like...
Trigger moment, because he said all the time, and you could probably quote a few times when you did not burn something and all of a sudden he's incorrect.
Not all the time. Not all the time. So...
Is it possible that you're remembering the story wrong? He said, oh... you burned something again, and you reworded it in your brain to say all the time.
It was either that, or he said, why do you burn everything? So I'm pretty sure it was some type of absolute language. But
trigger.
I mean, I do it all the time too. But I do burn. I'm not gonna lie. I do burn things quite often because I like things more dry. So like even when I'm making pizza, so I also burned the pizza the other day because. But I thought I was going to be the only one eating the pizza anyways. So I put the top broiler on. Yeah. And it like burned all the cheese.
Oh.
But like only on the crust. And I don't eat the crust. But
you don't eat any. Oh, you don't eat the ends.
Yeah, like the crust.
Yeah. So like there's technically crust on the bottom. But
Okay, I don't eat the ends. Okay. I don't eat the top part.
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, so I don't eat that anyways. So then.
Because some people don't eat that either. They're like.
They just eat the top.
The cheese and tomato sauce and pepperoni or something. So
eat lasagna. Yeah, I don't eat the end part, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy was like, why'd you burn the pizza? And then I was like, well, nobody else is going to eat it, and I don't like when it's squishy on top. I prefer it to be a little crispy.
Are you the kind of person that orders well done at pizza places?
Yes. I also order like well done salmon, well done steak.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm a more dry. Like, I think I like things more dry. Like, I like my chicken to be dry also. Like, a lot of people aren't like that, but I prefer it to be more dry.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Which explains why you like chicken tenders. Except when they're
not
fried,
long
'cause they
chicken
can-
tenders. Like I don't like the long chicken tenders. But if you're referring to boneless wings,
Why do you seem triggered right now?
because boneless wings and chicken nuggets and chicken tenders are not the same thing.
This is a hot take.
I guess so.
Okay. Back to
What we were
business.
saying. Okay, so yeah, that causes me to be toxic.
Okay, so
Whenever
somebody you make a mistake.
and I'm given no grace or mercy or whatever it's
Yeah.
called, then all of a sudden now I want to be in it. So then after that, all morning I was in a bad mood. Jeremy was I'm gonna use the restroom before we leave. I said, of course. So then all morning I was in a bad mood.
This is today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But honestly, we've been doing so good.
Oh, good.
Today was a faux pas. Today was a fumble.
Yeah.
But-
Faux pas. Okay.
But yeah, but other than that, that does or yeah.
Okay, so then your toxic trait is that. What would be the opposite of that? What would be a non-toxic way to approach that situation?
A non-toxic way, maybe just letting him know like, hey, you're hurting my feelings. But I would never.
Okay, hold on. Let's role play real quick. So I go, Amy, you burn everything.
Using that type of absolute language hurts my feelings.
And then what's the best thing for me to say to?
You're right. I'm sorry.
Well,
I forgive
if
you
the
for
shoe
burning.
fits, wear it, Amy. Okay, you don't burn everything. You just burn 95% of the things you cook.
At least in the oven. I guess I don't gauge the temperature right. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah.
All right. So then I guess am I answering the ask women stuff about my own toxic trait as well, or we're keeping the question mainly on you and we're just kind of engaging with their answer?
You can answer it.
What's my toxic trait?
What caused you to do something toxic?
To do something toxic. It has to be something, right?
So like somebody make you act jealous and then you were being a little too possessive, or somebody let's say cut you off, you flick them off. I don't know if that's toxic, but I would think that's toxic behavior.
Oh, yeah, right. Now, again, this is the irony of thinking about this, and maybe my toxic behavior is not seeing and knowing any of my own toxic behaviors. Does it count?
I guess so.
I'm trying to think, though. I know I probably got some.
Do you ever
Okay.
stay out
Okay,
late?
I got one. If something's like a little bit annoying to me, let's say, let's say Angelina doesn't like the smell of the tuna that I'm making, which is not even like for her. I'm just making it for myself or something. I'll call her a tuna head. So it'll be whatever is happening, and then I'll just call her the name of whatever is involved. So tuna head, or if I'm making eggs and she doesn't like the smell, it's egghead.
Derek,
What? That's toxic? Is that? I feel like it's on the
Playful.
on the spectrum of toxicity. I think maybe that's the playfulness. If something happens, I have a playful anger that I play around with, like that I'm like something, but it's not real to me.
yeah,
But maybe does that count?
I guess so. Matthew asked, what is considered toxic? Everyone has their own definition. So let's say it's a spectrum, all the way from, playful name calling to getting stabbed. Where are you?
Okay, so at what point does a behavior become toxic? Okay, so we're talking behaviors. We're only really talking about language and
Actions.
So which
Yeah.
actions and which language would be toxic?
So like silent treatment, I think that's a little toxic.
Yeah.
You know.
It's called stonewalling people. It's one of the behaviors that the four horsemen of the apocalypse I told you about are the four horsemen of like the apocalypse in marriage,
Yeah.
which is like under, I think it's John Gottman. You could look it up. One of the behaviors that he says is one of the most problematic in marriage is stonewalling,
Yeah.
which is that silent treatment.
I think, so I guess that's an action, right? So because you're not really saying anything. So
So here's a gauge. Your eyeballs go like that. Here's a gauge that I think is relevant. Is if my behavior is better with a stranger than it is for my significant other, I'm like toxic.
yeah.
Isn't that crazy how we can treat our significant other like I would never call a stranger a tuna head. You know? So yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true. I guess that is a good way to gauge it.
Yes. All right. Next question from the Ask Men, from r is it r/ask men? How do you even say that?
Yeah, r/.
Okay.
So, Derek, what advice do you have for people trying to date if they are poor?
The question, I suppose, starts with: should people that are broke
Be poor.
So then there seems to be like impoverished countries, and then there seems to be broke people. So maybe the two categories are like if everybody in the barrio, or if everybody in this section of the city or the country is poor, then it's kind of like different. Do you just like stop them from breeding? That seems crazy. Like,
yeah.
but we're talking about somebody in this context. Maybe we're talking about an American who doesn't have money. Their advice for them for dating.
I guess so.
And
Yeah.
so part of this goes back to, okay, so let's say you're a woman, and if you believe in gender equality, which I don't.
Anybody in the room believe in gender equality?
Do you?
No.
Okay, cool. Making sure. That's why I was asking you about your feminine energy, if it was stronger today than other days.
Nope.
Okay, good. All right. Gender equality, if you're dating and you're broke, the problem with gender equality if you're a woman is you would have to pay for some of the dates, potentially, if you believe in gender equality. But if you don't believe in it and you believe the man in this example is supposed to be paying and you don't believe in gender equality, then you can be a broke woman and date relatively easy. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a broke man, should you be dating? So like a broke woman without gender equality makes sense today because the man can pay. And oftentimes, even in a culture where feminism is on the rise and women are stepping up and women are graduating at higher rates than ever and they're making more money than they've ever made, then there's still a bunch of people who don't believe in gender equality and they expect a man to do his thing, to step up and pay for the date. So a man who cannot pay for a date, should he date? That is this other part of the question. So I've been on both sides of this fence. Perspective in marriage, anybody who's married, I think they could testify that one of the most frequent arenas of conflict is finances, money, expenses, what we spend money on, what we don't spend money on. So the idea of a person who, in this context, a man who is broke, should he date? And did I date when I was broke? When Angelita would come to town and I had zero money in the bank account and I only had nickels and dimes literally to my name, would I spend every nickel and dime on a date with her? The answer is yes. But so all that to say is I could understand, though, historically, if you think about you're familiar with the dowry? Yes, no? Dowry?
It sounds familiar.
The idea of historically where a man would provide a certain amount of money or a certain amount of cattle to the daughter's father, to the father, in order for the blessing of her hand in marriage. So historically, if you didn't have the money for a dowry, you couldn't date and get married in a few different cultures.
Yeah.
So do I think that sets a precedent for now? I think it did historically. It's like if you can't provide, especially in time periods when the men were the main provider or the only provider, then it would be probably pretty problematic if you were broke. I can't pay for the dowry for the right to be married to this man's daughter. So I suppose I'm going to have to stay single, brother. But now I feel like people are a little more can like squirm around a little bit and worm their way in and go on dates. Now, so then anyway, so the answer, long way of talking about the question: should broke men date? What is your final answer or perspective on it?
Wow, I think what are you trying to get out of dating ultimately, right? Companionship, or if you can genuinely tell that somebody who's trying to date is not doing it for some kind of gain, like they want to stay in your apartment or they want to use your car or they want to, even just have somebody to boss around, sometimes, especially
Wait, who's bossing who around?
like a man, like a guy.
Let's say a broke man is dating to boss the girl around.
Yeah, wants to feel bigger because he doesn't have money. You know what I mean? And especially that's a society thing. So to me, I think especially the whole the macho man, like that kind of idea, men think about that stuff a lot. So I think if your motivation for dating is not just because you want to, let's say, put somebody else down or use them, then that's fine. Then and on top of that, like you're working on yourself and you're in a position where, like, let's say you don't have money right now, like there's a difference between being act like all the way broke, and all have no job, no place to stay, you're bouncing on people's couch, you have no car, and then on top of that, then wanting to, and you have no motivation to even look for a job, and you're, any money you get, you're going and you're drinking and stuff like that. Okay, if you're doing all that, you really shouldn't be dating. You shouldn't. Like if you're motivated and you want to get ahead and you want to genuinely find a good companion, you're not going to find them not trying to be your best self either. Like if you're genuinely working towards moving forward, you have a good heart and you're trying to do the right thing, that's one thing. But if you're out here and these men know if they're out here messing around and doing whatever, and women should know too, then I don't think they should be dating. And I think they need to be looking out because they're just trying to take advantage.
Preach it, sister. So, yeah. So then if Khalil's broke, you would be like, son, you got to get a job before you start dating. Is that the position?
Like if Khalil's broke, okay.
So he's 14, 15, wants to take a little girl on a date. He wants to go to the movies. Got no money.
Are we all going as a family? Family trip?
No, he's like, Mom, I don't want you looking over my shoulder. I don't want you being a helicopter mom while I'm going on this date with Shorty from my chemistry class in high school.
As long as we get to meet her. And we go to her house.
But he doesn't have money.
We meet her parents. Yeah, well, I'll give him the money.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I guess the condition for you then, if you're in high school.
I definitely think Khalil needs to have a job.
He needs to have a job, even in high school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I had a job.
Yeah.
I worked.
Okay, but I
didn't spend it on no man.
All right. So, I guess the first question we're asking is, should a broke person even going on a date? So then if you have a daughter, dude is not doing anything, you'd be like, what are you doing with this guy? Right?
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, let's say it's the guy he's broke, but he's going to keep dating. So he's already decided that. Whether he should or not, he's doing it. What's the advice then? Again, this Reddit question, it seems to be the question oriented around
trying to date.
they're still gonna do it. What kind of tips and tricks would you give to this broke individual or this poor individual who still wants to date?
Date someone who has as much money as you.
So you can't date up in class. You have to.
No, because then you're taking advantage. But I guess, backwards, are women taking advantage by dating someone who has more money,
Yeah. Okay, so then my advice to them, and this broke or poor person maybe doesn't have a whole lot of money. He doesn't have, maybe he has a little bit of money, but he doesn't have a whole lot. So I think at this point, okay, so here's the question. I know, so Jeremy wants to take you on a date. This is before you're married and before you have a kid.
Okay.
This is your first date.
Okay.
Picks you up. Or no, he doesn't pick you up. He rides his bike to your house.
Okay.
And then he said, all right, we're going to the park for the date. And so he parks the bike at your house. Y'all walk to the park. And he gets out peanut butter jelly sandwich. You eat the sandwich. Y'all talk. Fly a kite. It's a used kite, but y'all fly a kite together. And y'all walk home. And that's a date. Your perspective on that kind of date.
I mean, I don't think that's bad either.
Yeah.
That means effort.
Yeah.
Somebody who's hungover wouldn't be able to do that. Ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think it makes a big difference, like what we were just talking about earlier. Like if, like Kalel does want to go on a date, okay, I'm going to ask him, how are your grades? Are you making good grades? If you're not making good grades, what are you doing focusing on a girl? He's making good grades. He's doing good in whatever sport he's doing. He wants money to take a girl out on a date, fine, whatever. But if he starts, messing off, then no mas money for the Kalel. But it's the same thing, too. Like, at that point, is Jeremy, Jeremy was in school, when we first started dating also.
Yeah.
So it was like, are we doing things to move forward, And that's it. That is a cute date.
Yeah. Yeah, so that what we just captured there from Gen Z. You're Gen Z, right? Oh, you're Gen... Yeah, you...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. 24? 24-year-olds Gen Z?
Yeah.
19... I think it was like 2000 is like cut off, or 96 or 98 or something. Already. Okay. That is the perspective on or tips for dating. There's a lot of things you can do to make it special. Now, if somebody's like in a weird... What if they're not near a park? Okay, somebody's broke. So let's paint another picture. She has an apartment.
Okay.
He lives a considerable distance. Or here's a question. What's the cheapest date Jeremy could have took you on where it still would have been significant? Like the least amount of money spent possible.
So, like when Jeremy and I first started dating, like he was in, he was going to school in college. So I know when we first started going out, he took me to the gym at like his college, and we played basketball.
And so in both of your minds, were y'all thinking this is a date, or like y'all were together, but there wasn't necessarily a thought of, hey, we're on a date?
I thought it was.
But right now you seem like it's a possibility that he might have thought that it was just...
I'm sure he did too.
Yeah.
That's why if I ever saw him playing basketball with another girl, I got mad. I said, "What is she doing grabbing your shirt like that?" And he said, "That's how you guard people." I said, "That's not how she needs to be guarding you."
This is hypothetical, right? This is hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetical.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. But, yep.
Okay. So
yeah.
Cheap alternative for a date is playing basketball.
Or playing any sport.
Playing any
going to the park,
sports.
playing any sport.
Yeah.
Maybe even going, I think one of the first things Jeremy and I did was we went to the gym together.
Gym, sport, kite, sandwiches in the park.
Precisely.
Yeah. So you ain't got to spend a whole lot of money to go on cheap dates.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, do you think you have a humble attitude about it, though? In other words, so I guess now we're stepping out of the spectrum of Amy.
Yeah.
And we're asking, again, this is an Ask Men Reddit. They're asking, do you have connections with women where you think they would be more like put off by a cheaper date?
Yeah.
And tell me about it.
Even, okay, maybe not me specifically,
Yeah.
but I've told you that I watched that show, I'm in Love with the Mama's Boy.
Yeah.
So there was a girl on there who she said that if her boyfriend didn't spend $40,000 on her engagement ring, then then she didn't even want to be with him. She said, if you're gonna, and then he proposed like in the park or something like that. She threw the ring, but he proposed like in the park. She said, if you're gonna propose to me, you need to fly me to Hawaii, have roses on a private jet,
Let's go.
do all this, give
Standards.
me $40,000.
Just some standards, Amy.
But what was she doing? I think she was a barista.
But
Girl.
could the guy afford it? Is he like balling like that or no?
I think he was like an actor, but not like,
Yeah.
not rich.
Okay. If what about the idea of getting engaged with a ring pop? I've seen like some videos when guys try to do that and the girls get ticked off.
I guess it also depends on like the circumstance. You've been together 10 years and then you're gonna propose with a ring pop, sir.
That's a no.
No,
Okay, but if you're relatively
like 2-3 years, then
ring,
you're
ring
like,
pop.
oh, like you're really feeling it in that moment.
So 2-3 years, you're still in the ring pop phase.
Yeah.
You get proposed at the ring pop.
Yeah.
2-3 years. Okay.
Or-
Okay.
Definitely early years, no more than 3 years.
Okay. So 3 years, you gotta get lock that down with the ring pop unless you get into
Yeah.
real expensive territory.
Yeah.
All right.
Even like 10 years, I feel like you shouldn't be spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on a ring or $100,000. If you're not Kanye and Kim Kardashian and all of them, like really, why are you spending that much money on a ring? Why are you walking around with the cost of a house on your finger?
Okay. So hypothetically, you have a daughter, and she is 30 years old. Somebody's coming to take her on a date. At what point would his cheapness concern you with the kind of dates that they go on?
Let's see.
Okay, for example, coupon on the first date.
Like he cut it out of the newspaper and he's walking around
Yeah.
with it. Oh, cringe. Maybe like,
What is financial responsibility?
okay, well, why doesn't he just take a picture of it? I don't want him walking around with a coupon. Like, take a picture of it and then just show them.
Okay, what
Then let
about
them
what's that?
scan it.
What's that one app that they use where it's like a bunch of coupon stuff? You're like, I never used it.
Is it like Retail Me
It's
or Groupon?
Groupon is it? Yeah. So again, I think back to the question is, at what point would you be concerned for your daughter if like, okay, peanut butter jelly in the park, okay, they play basketball, okay, they went to the gym, and would it get to a point where you cross it? Okay, are you gonna spend any money? Like, so he's going on. Let's say the budget seems to be like $2 every date.
Okay.
Would this become a concern, or you think, hey man, this dude is actually financially responsible, like not?
I'd begin to get concerned. I mean, if after 6 months to a year, he's still only ever spent $2 every single date, I'm gonna get a little concerned.
Yeah. So 5 to 11 months, you might be in the clear, but eventually.
Yeah, eventually, I'm gonna be like, what is he spending all his money on?
Yeah.
Like, are these his last $2 every time he comes over here? What is he doing all this other time? Jetty.
Jetty said $2 is not enough for anything these days, bro.
Come on.
Come on. What? You can't get like a bag of hot Cheetos and put some homemade melted cheese in there?
No, a bag of hot Cheetos is $1.99. You want cheese? Whole extra $1.
You could borrow it from the community refrigerator of your roommates.
So now you're a thief too? Absolutely not.
$2 for a date. So yeah, okay, all right. What's the minimum then? What's the minimum? Bro. What you probably missed earlier is Amy said that going on a date to play basketball it was good enough, or going on a date peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I do think that we still bought like a water from the vending machine.
Yeah, that's under $2.
Yeah.
But even if they brought a water bottle to go.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Matthew Brown did say, "What's up?" By the way, what's up, Matthew Brown from Tulsa, Oklahoma? He said, "If dating isn't for marriage or encouragement, wouldn't that itself be toxic? Dating to date, not dating for marriage or encouragement."
Oh. Yeah. Especially like we've talked about in our previous podcasts that
Episode number 5. No, I'm just kidding. I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but we've talked about how women gravitate towards wanting to be married. So it's like if a woman, and I cannot get over like enough how many women act like they're so cool with being with someone who just wants to date and do something casual, and then they're shocked, like genuinely shocked whenever the person that they're going out with is like, I really don't want anything serious long term. And then they're like, I can't believe it. My heart is broken. Girl, you knew what was going on.
The signs were there all along.
He said them. Women walk around like this, eyes covered.
You took some shots at women today.
I already told you, maybe it's because I've already been on the toxic route today, you guys. I already burned the biscuits. Then
Good.
I said I wanted to leave at 11:15, and at 11:15, Jeremy said, I'm going to just use the restroom right quick before we leave.
A lot of information there. On to the next question.
Okay, me.
All
okay.
right. All right, question for you is women. This is from r/ask women on Reddit. It says, women who never felt they were particularly motherly or into babies growing up, what has your experience of motherhood been like?
So me, being a mom, I feel like I'm such a laid back mom. But I don't know if like some moms say that. Like if Diamond were to say that she's such a laid back mom, I'd be like, what's your blood pressure looking like? But yeah, so I feel like I'm a laid back mom.
On the spectrum of laid back is on one side of it, helicopter.
Yeah, I guess helicopter.
Helicopter rappelling, Mission Impossible over the child.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I think I'm pretty laid back. I don't get too worried. Obviously, some things I don't like. I don't like, people calling him weight-related nicknames. Certain things. But
Triggered.
But okay, so like growing up, I never felt like I was particularly motherly or into babies. Before I had Kalel, I never felt like I was particularly into babies ever, except, maybe my nieces and nephew, Other than that, I really just wasn't like, goo goo gaga over babies. And then, it's just has never been a thing for me. Even like having Barbie dolls growing up, like, people would play with the Barbie dolls and do like, husband and wife or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would do stunts with them. And then I'd break their little legs and I'd break their little arms. And then I just bandaged them up.
There you go. Got some nursing in there. It's motherly to take care of the wounds. After the Daredevil theatrics.
Daredevil theatrics, definitely. So I don't worry too much. I don't feel like I was very particularly hovery. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like men ever think about being fatherly. Do you ever think about being fatherly?
Yeah.
Growing up?
Well, to me, so good question. So the question I think is, what does a so there's ideas when you hear people say something, oh, you would be a good mother or you would be a good father. And then what is that each for the woman? What is that each for? What is that for men? So have I gotten a phrase like that like often in my life? For sure. And I think it seems to be connected to the idea of, are there children around and do you get on their level? Do you try to connect with people who are not even your age? Like whether it's, hey, if they're standing 2.5 feet tall, do you get down on the knee and talk to them? Do you dap them up or give a secret handshake or something? So all these things I think they were somewhat instinctual with me with doing with the kids, just to bond with them. So like I remember, like one of my single friends, she's a single mom with 2 kids. I created a little secret handshake with her kids. You know what I'm saying? Just to like when I see them, do a little dap up and then do a little follow through, and that was our handshake with one of them, and the other one had another handshake. But there was elements of connecting with kids that were not my own that was probably attributed to the whole, oh, you'd be a good father, da da da. So
Yeah.
But-
Well, now that I am a mom, I don't know. I think about, like, because Krish is pregnant, right? So,
just kidding.
so Krish is pregnant, and I think she's going to be a great mom. She seems like
Yeah.
motherly. I don't feel like people looked at me and thought, oh, you're going to be very motherly. Like, I don't feel like homey. I don't know how to describe that. Like, have you ever seen those pictures of guys and girls' apartments? And it's like the girls' apartments look all cute, and the guys' apartments have like a blow-up mattress and a couch, you
Yeah.
know? And like a TV just sitting on the floor. Like,
Yeah.
my apartment has always looked closer to like a guy's apartment than a girl's apartment.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know why that is. I've tried really hard to like do things, but then I just don't have the motivation for it. So I
Yeah.
wonder, like, what makes somebody seem maternal? Like, are they bossy? Are they more bossy? I sometimes feel like moms are a little bossy. I don't think Krish is bossy though.
No, I to me it's somebody who's sympathetic. They're like in tune with how people are feeling. Like, and they might be caring as opposed to aloof. And we're talking about creating a contrast between, hey, what's more motherly and what's not. So somebody who's a nurturer, who might be selfless minded. Again, I think about a server who's thinking about the drink or thinking about their food. So if you're having people in your home, you're thinking about what they're drinking or what they're eating. Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Or what can you do for them? So I think the motherly experience is a provider of clothing, of food, of drink, is a concern with if you've had a bad day. Like, they're really sensitive, and it's not just move on to the next topic, but hey, you said something, or you look like you're down, or you look like you're hurting. Like, it's a something I talked about Angelita a lot is like her motherly nature among our friend group or among our family. She'll make observations about people who look like they're having a hard time, who look like they're a little bit more tired than usual, who look a certain way. So there's an observation, I think, gift set in there that's connected. You could see how it's directly connected to motherhood, of making observations about the child and how the child is doing. So,
well, I think motherhood's been fun.
yeah.
I have a fun time.
Yeah. So I think what I'm gathering from you, though, is the idea of if somebody happens to not be motherly pre-motherhood, it's not something you lose hope, because you can become that later.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Especially, I think I was super selfish. Like, I was...
Really? You don't say. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I was
More
super
sincerely, what makes you realize that now and see that now, and how do you combat that now in your life?
So I felt like I was super selfish because it was always like, even, for at the very beginning of, even having Kalal, like, I still felt kind of like, what do I want to make me happy? What's going to make Amy happy? What do I have to sacrifice to make Amy happy? And it's like, I had no problem doing whatever needed to be done in order to make myself happy.
Yeah.
Before, and I say, even at the beginning of, like, when Kalal was first born, because I also kind of felt like sometimes if I wasn't getting enough, like, help from, or if I felt like I wasn't getting enough help from Jeremy, it's like, okay, well, do I just need to, go and stay at my parents' house, and just, have help from my parents so that I don't have to worry about this, And it's like, okay, that's more selfish to myself, because it's like I take time away from Jeremy spending time with Kalal, I take time away from I might be inconveniencing, like, mom, And it's like I would think about those things, and it's as time has gone on, I've thought more like I don't need to be kind of thinking about myself as much. Like
Yeah.
I think more about cologne. I think more about like in the long term, it is going to be better if Jeremy and I figure out how to work together more for cologne, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like as time has gone on, I've gotten better at it. But I didn't start out that way. It wasn't that way when I was pregnant. It definitely wasn't that way before I was pregnant. And you know, even when we were married, it was a lot of back and forth and making like certain sacrifices just because I felt like it, and then other times just not wanting to make any sacrifices because also I didn't feel like it. So
Yeah.
it's like now I'm consciously making an effort to try to not necessarily sacrifice my happiness, but try to make things work. Like try to have a little bit of give and take more than I had previously.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate the conversation and the thought process on happiness, and even the thought process and the maturity you're talking about. You ultimately begin to think about other people and the kind of inconveniences things will have on them. So,
Yep.
Motherhood, selflessness. That's good. It's a really good insight. I like that perspective.
Yupperoni.
All right.
All right.
Next one. What you got?
What are ways for a wife to show appreciation?
Submit in everything. Next topic.
Okay. I'm trying to think. What are some things that I've tried to do to show appreciation to Jeremy? Let's see.
No, I was joking.
Yeah, I'm like, let's just not focus on that. Let's just glide right over. Pretend we didn't hear anything.
No, so there's the 5 love languages, which I've discussed before. So they are: the wide finger is words of affirmation, the W. This finger is like when you're at a restaurant asking for service, acts of service. This finger is the tall finger, starts with the letter T, and it represents touch. Two T's. This finger has a ring on it, so it represents a gift. The ring, so the gifts we give to each other. And this finger also starts with a T, the tiny finger, and it's time. So you have words, service, touch, gifts, time. So the question then is, how do you use these 5 arenas to show appreciation to husband in this context? And really, I think you have these 5 and you have drop downs. So within the love languages, there are what's called dialects, like just like in real language, like in different dialects of Spanish or different dialects of English.
Yeah.
You have drop down of words would be, it's not just, oh, you look pretty today or you look handsome today, but it's also words of respect, like that means the way we criticize and don't criticize each other, the way we insult or don't insult each other, the way we make requests, not commands to each other, the way we don't use absolute language with each other. Like all of these things are, I would put categorically under words of affirmation, and underneath that would be under the words that demonstrate this deep respect and honor for your husband. Get it right, ladies.
Matt says being intentional. Being intentional with your words. Or I guess you could be intentional with anything, right? Intentionally putting an effort to say words,
Yeah.
Do all those things.
Yes.
Intentionally doing those.
All right. How do you show appreciation for your husband?
Let's see. Whenever I'm trying to show appreciation, I'm trying to think. Oh, so like I will do, I don't know if this is necessarily appreciation. I guess I'll do anything like that I know has been needing to be done, or anything that he particularly has been wanting, or I grant him a little bit more grace sometimes when he messes up. I feel like sometimes, or not messes up, or like, he doesn't feel like taking out the trash or something. Then I'm like, okay, you've been nice today. I'll take out the trash or whatever.
Mm.
Roll it out to the street.
Yeah.
I'm not touching the bags. But yeah,
There we go.
stuff like that to show appreciation. Be like, okay, you've been really nice. I'll do this for you.
Yeah.
But other than that, so I guess that's like an act of service, right?
Yeah. And I think also there's an element of my some of my friends were talking about this idea of like Muslim women, because remember how last week on the pod on episode number 6 we were talking about capital punishment, and no, we really were talking about that last week. But the reason I bring it up right now is because one common thread in countries, locations that practice violence when it came to breaking certain laws was a Muslim thread that was weaved into some of those countries. As we looked that up on ChatGPT, and they told us about different laws being broken and then the violent punishment that came with it. So it does make me think about even the kind of women that are Muslim in general, or like and the way they carry themselves. And I think the amount of respect. So one question we were having with a few of my friends, which was, how would my wife do as a Muslim woman, right? Like, and which and we had a conversation again with another friend yesterday, and we were talking about. He asked, "Why don't you say a Christian woman?" And really, this is one criticism within I guess Christianity. It's Christian women have so lost the idea of being submissive in marriage and in general that it's hard to even like hold up Christian, like the idea of it. Now, I'm not saying there's no Christian women that aren't living it out.
Yeah.
But then the idea of respect or deference in the Muslim culture and seeing that it's something. So anyway, all that to say is showing appreciation. Part of it, it's like this the amount of respect and the way you talk about your significant other when they're around and when they're not around. Like, it's crazy to think about in 10 years of marriage. I feel like Angelita's never disrespected me in public, or never, like when she describes me or talks about me, like the amount of respect she has. Like, so anyway, all that to say is I think my wife would do really, really well as a Muslim woman. Not that we're trying to convert her or anything, but there are sometimes I think when I examine my faith that there are similarities between my position on a few things and Muslim more than the traditional Christian perspective.
So, Angelita, that's how to show more appreciation for Derek.
That's right. Get it down.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Next one for you.
All right.
We have Ask Women. Question number 3 is, how do you organize your tasks? Or what strategies do you use to stay on top of it all?
Why do you read it like that?
Okay. So the question I thought was a funny question, right? Because who I would ask this question to under what circumstances changes. Like, so this is the single mom with 4 kids who's running a company that's doing a few $1 million. And I'm like, I'd ask that woman how she does it, right?
Yep.
And then so to ask it from somebody, again, I don't know. Again, even though you're my sister and we hang out and we talk, I don't know your day-to-day in life. I know you have 1 kid. I know you have a husband, and I know those things. But there's an element of one version, even you've described, like, if we were asking this question to our mom and we went through her whole portfolio of accomplishments and achievements, and we're like, hey, how do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then her kids, and then her grandkids, and then these businesses and all of these things. And then, so anyway, it's a funny question to ask a 24-year-old. It was kind of the funny thing.
To
so
think
I made
about.
it funny to ask the question in that way because I thought it was an interesting one.
Yeah.
But go ahead and answer the question. I'd love to
Okay.
hear your perspective.
I'm gonna answer.
How do
Okay.
you stay on top of all the things that you stay on top of?
All the millions and millions of things that I'm doing every day. Just say it like that, Derek. Okay.
The tiny few things that you're actually responsible for. How do you manage, Amy? How do you carry the weight of all of this in life? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. The reason that I even think about this is because for me, I feel like I am tasked with keeping track and doing things that I've never in my life ever had to deal with.
Fair.
Not even just putting up with like Kalal, but like I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the pod or said anything, but I don't particularly like keeping up with my house. I don't like it. I'd rather not do it.
So is it like on a rate of 1 to 10, cleanliness?
Oh, I'm a decent. Like right now, I'm probably at a 7.
And who's a 10?
This house.
Encouragement to Angelita. Okay, so and what's a 1?
Okay, we're not gonna say mom's a 1. All right, what we're gonna say is like the people from Hoarders is a 1.
Okay,
you know?
yeah,
Okay.
fair.
So we'll do like Hoarders are a 1, and let's say like Angelita's a 10.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I would say I'm probably like at a 7.
Okay.
So I do, I vacuum every day or whatever.
Every day? Oh, that's all.
Yeah.
You're on it. There we go.
Yeah. So like, but that's just because Kalal crawls on the floor now, and
Yeah.
I only definitely make sure to vacuum the areas where he crawls. Now I have a baby gate, so I don't have to vacuum the entire house every day.
Mm.
Also, people normally leave their shoes at the front, so like, the
Yeah.
whole house doesn't get messy. But okay, aside from that, so how I feel like particularly the question is, how do I stay on top of things that I don't want to do? So that's what I'm like, I thought about the question. I'm thinking like things that I don't want to do, that I don't particularly have much experience doing or even like doing. I try to, one, establish a routine, like I'm going to make sure to do this on this specific day, or every single day I'm going to put aside a few minutes to do whatever else it is, like I do have to, like I can't stand washing my dishes. So I try to tell myself, okay, every day like that I do something, I'm going to rinse them all and then I'll wash them like the next day, because I feel like overwhelming myself, especially with stuff that I don't like doing. So I don't like cleaning my house. I don't like washing my dishes. I don't like certain things to not be done right. So like I won't overwhelm myself with trying to get everything done all at once. So like I need to sew like all my curtains too, and I like doing crafty things, like, so I like sewing, I like painting, I like, building things, I like doing those things, but even those things, like I can't do them for too long without getting overwhelmed. And I think it's even the same thing like for mom, mom also ends up, she has to work on something specific, and I think, trying to get it cram, mom's a lot better at like procrastinating. I feel like I will do a little bit over the period of long time, so that at the end it's only a very short amount that I have to do. I think mom's more like crams it all in right at the end, and I'm like, I don't know how she does it, because I know she still ends up getting it done. But it's like, for me, the way that I've just managed is I just, try to do a little bit, and maybe
That's
not
good.
even every day, but I think those things are hard, especially like, I don't know. I don't believe that I have any type of ADD or ADHD, but I know that people who do struggle with stuff like that too,
Yeah.
also wanting to make sure that specific things are done. I think mom might have a little bit of ADD.
Yeah.
So I think that's, she has to focus in on things as well. So, me, I just try to focus up. Also, adding things that are more fun. Like, it was very boring taking Kalil a bath until I bought him toys. Now he has toys. And it's not so
In my
boring.
head, when I was like, oh, where's this conversation going? It used to be boring taking him a bath. but now I add a bunch of red coloring dye and it looks like blood or something. I thought you were going
yeah.
in like a color water or something, or green or something. Looks like, but no, you went the toys route. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So he actually likes to play with the toys now too. So that's kind of funny too.
Yeah, making it fun. All right, Matthew Brown said, you don't want to defeat yourself before you get started.
Mm-hmm.
Good input.
Just on any tasks.
Yeah.
So I also, I try to get things done and forget about it. So like I will have like a planner. So my planner, I will carry it around. And if I plan something, I write it down real quick in my planner. And every day, I don't always have something written, but if I have something specific that I need to get done, I will check my planner like, oh, today I forgot to have this. Or like then I'll see, I'll be able to look at it and I'll see what I have for the week. And if I have to add anything in, I just add it in also too. So that's one way that I try to remember. Sometimes I just try to hold it all in there and then I'm like, oh my gosh, how does mom do this?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, no wonder. No wonder she can't hear me when I'm talking to her.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good input.
How do I stay on top of it all? I don't really stay on top of everything. I just take it day by day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good answer.
And I was like that even before the baby. So, what excuse did I have before? Nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Like in a similar way, I mean, we don't always like choose our reputation, but I know I can have a certain reputation because people tell me what my reputation is. They'll tell me like, oh, like you're doing this or doing that, or you've done this or done that. But like the idea of the actual responsibilities, we don't have kids, we don't have pets, we don't have a bunch of responsibilities that other people have. So like the amount of things you can accomplish without extra kids or without kids or without pets, it is extraordinary. And then the amount of things you get accomplished with kids is also notable as well. So that's why I think I had a little hesitation with even thinking about the question, even for myself. So
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
All right. What imperfections do you like most in women?
This is a good question. What's imperfections? I'm married a perfect woman, so how would I know? No, just kidding.
That's true.
The imperfections.
What is considered perfections? Let's think about that. So.
Right. So the way I analyze life is, again, I've said it 1,000 times, which is our actions, our words, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our responses. And which of those. So I feel like mine's wrapped in two things. I feel like it's like when they ask in a job interview, tell me your weaknesses. I work too hard. I volunteer too much.
I give too much of myself.
I'm a perfectionist. And so my answer is when somebody has an unsound thought is the imperfection, which we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that's the weakness, which we all have, I think, that weakness inside of us. Some of us have more than others.
Yeah.
So a thought that's not really supported or a belief that's not really supported by enough experience or enough data points. So the idea of that's imperfect. However, the strength inside of it is the ability to go, oh, you know what? In light of this new amount of evidence, then I can take this opinion and change it based on this evidence. Example, I know you and I had a whole debate, not online, but we had the conversation about, is our mom autistic? Is she not? We had the conversation. And I think it's a relevant conversation now more than ever. Than the amount of people that have been diagnosed with autism is greater than it's ever been. And then I don't know if your position has changed since we last had the conversation, but when we were in the dialogue, I said, all right, let's pull up the 10 qualities of what it means to be autistic, and we looked it up, and the vast majority were the answer of a no, like not really applied.
Not really.
But and then even the one that did apply, it kind of was like, that applies to so many people. Like when
Yeah.
when you have a category that applies to so many people, it ends up applying to nobody.
Yeah,
So
that's
anyway,
true.
but so I thought so. Back to what imperfections do you like most in women? So this applies. I the way I'm answering the question is that with romantically, but also this is my sister, right? You're my little
Yeah.
sister, and I appreciated you. You had a thought, which I thought from the beginning. I thought it was unsound. We hadn't
Yeah.
had the conversation to have a thorough logical breakdown of it.
Yeah.
But then once we discussed it all, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I think I don't have that opinion anymore."
Yeah.
I thought that was a strength within a weakness. The weakness was the unsound thought. The strength was, "Hey, I see the data, and I'm changing my opinion."
Yeah.
So I don't know. You might have changed your opinion back since then, or
No, probably.
Okay.
I definitely still feel like probably not.
okay.
But yeah,
That
was a whole conversation we had, just us two, not on the pod.
yeah.
Yep.
Your answer to this question, do you want to answer it imperfections in men, or do you want to answer it imperfections in women?
I like any imperfections in women.
Any and all. The more the merrier. So then men?
In men, imperfections. So if something is, let's say, to be perfect, is like ideally perfect. Like, let's say someone who, like, is it perfect to, let's say, follow manuals? You know, like if you get a manual, like if you're gonna build a table, like
Yeah.
to read the manual, right?
Yeah.
Is it a perfect thing for you as like a man to always read the instructions and follow it like that? You know, like if that's the perfect ideal, like I prefer somebody who can go off road with it. You know what I mean? Like I prefer anybody who can improvise. You know what I mean? Like let's say you get the manual for the table and it doesn't have the screws. That doesn't mean you cannot build the table. It means you can go figure out how to get screws. You know, just being able to adapt and not have to do things exactly perfect, I guess would be something.
Imperfection is accepting imperfection.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this quote that says better done than perfect. And it's the idea that like, can you complete something that's you don't let your perfectionist get in the way of you doing it at all.
Yeah.
But that's what I guess I'm kind of hearing
Which
from you.
I feel that's, yeah, the same thing. So I guess that would be for me. So that's
and sometimes
that's one of the imperfections that I like the most. Like, because I know that, you know, my dad's able to do those things. You know, like
Yeah.
if something's not complete, he can figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And I like
Deep.
that quality.
Deep. I totally had another one that I wanted to jump in there and share it. What was it? Oh, here's an example. Here's one more example of mine, which was, you know, our downstairs is floor, whatever, not carpet. Our stairs and our upstairs is carpeted, and then so we try to not wear shoes upstairs on the carpet, and then so there's times when we're barefoot on the downstairs, and then even if we go outside barefooted or whatever, but then we come back upstairs barefooted, and then so so I remember one of the times out to Angelita, I was like, oh, like I know we have this thing, and I think it's a good thing for us to do to like not have our shoes upstairs in general, but if we ever go downstairs in our socks or shoes, our socks or bare feet, then we're kind of bringing up whatever we're not bringing up normally. So, but then her ability to go, oh, yeah, actually, that actually makes sense. So like, oh, cool. So again, the strength within in it is like we could have us one thought in this one position, but then being open to other ideas as well.
Yeah. I guess changing your mind is an imperfection, right? So, or I don't know. Yeah. So to be perfect would have the right idea all the time, right?
Yes.
So.
And then to have a wrong idea, but then to be able to change it. So the wrong idea is the imperfection, but to be able to change it is maturity, I think.
Yeah. But it's still, still in a perfect world, it would still not be perfect to ever be wrong.
Yeah.
But being able to change your mind is a good quality.
Absolutely. All right. Ask women. Question number 4. Maybe this is the last question on the women's side, and then we'll ask one more on the men's side, and we'll wrap up.
Good.
Question number 4 says, what kinds of similarities and differences do you like and dislike in your relationships?
Okay. So first thing that pops into my head is I like that that Jeremy is not as similar to me, which is I've said it in the past that like Jeremy isn't as like, he doesn't drink. He doesn't like to stay out late.
Amen, church.
He's not a partier or does anything like that, right? So I like that he is.
He's a great Muslim. Go ahead.
And then I will drink. I will go out. Like, I like to stay out. Not like, I'm not going to be going out and staying out till who knows when all night, I don't go to the clubs or whatever out with my friends, but I do like that he's the opposite of like me in that aspect, so like he's more able to like not so much like stop me, but like just leans me more, like encourage me more to do things like safer.
Yeah.
And like always, checking on me. So he makes sure I come home. I felt like if we were both out there doing that, we could both end up who knows where. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But since we kind of keep up with each other, since he makes sure to keep up with me like it does. So I like that. And I like that we do have a lot of just regular similarities. We find interests in the same shows. We find interests in the same like activities, and stuff like that. So those things. Let's see.
You've done well with the similarity of like even basketball. You'll watch more basketball games.
Yeah.
Than you probably ever watched before.
Yep. Dislikes in my relationship. Let's see. I guess dislikes. I guess my husband's perfect.
So right, so in its dislikes with, I suppose this question is kind of like doubled. It's like it's dislikes with similarities and dislikes with differences. Is that the idea you could apply both to? Because it's what I like about what we're similar in. It's what I like about what we're different in. It's what I dislike about what we're similar in, and dislike what we're different in.
Okay, I guess yeah. Okay, so what I dislike about what we're similar in, we are both similar in that we avoid things, so like we avoid like when we're in trouble. So like if Jeremy's doing something like that's getting on my nerves, I'll be like seriously, you're getting on my nerves, and he'll start dancing. And I'm like stop doing that, because I'm just gonna get more angry, and then I'm gonna get onto the farther end of the toxic scale. Okay. Okay. So but I'm the same way, like sometimes he'll start getting upset like about I lose my keys, and then I'm like then I'll start dancing, or I'll start pretending like nothing's wrong, or I'm like, don't worry, da 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 da, and I don't like that we're both similar in that aspect, that we're both like, for the most part, Jeremy has made sure that I do confront things and I am like more on top of things, but we're both still a little bit like that. And that's something that's a little harder for me. Something I dislike as far as our differences is, he really isn't that social. So the parts that I don't like about it is that even when we are in social settings, Jeremy's still more comfortable, like on his phone, or just not talking. Yeah. So like he's just like that. Like even, it's not anything personal against anybody, whether we're with his friends, whether with my friends, whether with my family, whether we're with his family, no matter what group of people, no matter how comfortable he is, like he still is that kind of person. So it's never like personal either, but I do. It is a dislike for me. I wish he was a little bit different sometimes. But it's also maybe he's getting a little bit better, pulling him out of his comfort zone. But he probably wishes I was a little bit more not so loud. So
calm that down.
Yeah.
Turn that mic down, girl. That's good.
But yeah.
Those perspectives. No, I think that's great introspection. Maybe I'll answer on my side. Differences. And I think my wife has learned that women, I mean, the way men and women are different, of course, is something we both hold to in an exceptional way. Even like the groom honoring, the way we do like a groom honoring celebration when a man's getting married versus the way a woman does a women's, what do we call it? We don't call it bachelorette. We call it, I don't even know maybe they call it bachelorette. Who knows? But we don't call it the bachelor party. We call it the groom honoring party. But men roasting each other is so normalized. But then like even among mature men who roast each other about things that have shreds of truth is so common with me and my friends. And whether it's kicking a friend out of my house saying, hey bro, like go back to your wife. What do you do? What are you even doing here? Like having like conversations like that. And then us being like really great friends still. Like,
yeah.
Like, I think there's a difference there, and I think navigating that it does. I think part of it is differences of the sex, because certain people behave one way. I think I can. So having hard conversations, I think, is something that I'll just try to do immediately, or as soon as possible. I think for her, she often wants to package it just right for people.
Yeah.
So I think we have a difference there that I go, I just think life is simpler if you have hard conversations sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think about it and like, oh, what's going to happen or what are they going to do or whatever. So
yeah.
Even if I'm saying it wrong, and I guess for me, I'm probably more secure in saying it wrong, but apologizing for my delivery, but still standing on my message. Hey, I said that wrong. I still believe what I was trying to say. Let me apologize for my delivery, but what I was saying, I still believe. You know, so and I'll have hard conversations with friends about that. I know one friend that we had a conversation about was like the amount of conflict he would get into via text message, and I was like, bro, like this is not a way you should be having any kind of conflict, like no kind of confrontation, and like I think just the way we had to process that together. I could see how my wife would be more hesitant to have some of those conversations, those confrontations, those rebukes, those challenges that I'll have, even if it's a passive aggressive way. And I know in our society we don't uphold passive aggressive as a virtue. Although again, my worldview is biblical, so the idea is when Jesus had some passive aggressive traits, which I think we would call passive aggressive. Like, so the example would be when he said, when he was talking about Judas to the 12, he's like, one of you is a devil, and I've known that from the beginning. Or one of you is going to betray me. He wasn't saying, hey, you're like, the idea of him talking about it in a like not non-direct way is what we would call in our day and age passive aggressive, and we consider some people consider that toxic. Oh, passive aggressive is toxic if you're not being direct. Yeah. But I think there's something about men passive aggressively roasting each other about something that happens to be true for you to be able to grab a principle from that and change.
Yeah.
So it's something I like about masculinity. I like about manhood. We can really challenge each other, and the feelings are kind of secondary. Yes.
Okay.
Last question.
Last question for Derek. How do you make friends as an adult?
I think
You don't.
I was thinking about this for you. I was like, do you not? And like, are you, because I was wondering about you, and you could answer in a moment, but do you not? And then in my world, several times in my life, I would probably say I was probably at a limit of how many friends I have and not being able to add more to the plate. I think the blessing and curse is a good and a bad of the church culture I grew up in. Is the church culture kind of esteemed? It was almost this idea of you always have room among your friends for an extra like, best friend almost. which again, that's good and bad because it's bad because you'll eventually get too many best friends and you can't be everybody's number one. You just
Yeah.
cannot be. It's good in that like you never really close yourself off to the possibility of somebody coming into your life and you learning about all parts of them and connecting with them. So all that to say is, for me, it often happens to be people with similar pursuits. If somebody's pursuing a relationship with God, I say, all right, we got church on Sunday. We got like a smaller service for like a middle of the week. If you want to do something like in a small group in people's homes, we have like small group Bible studies. If you want one-on-one mentoring, I'll get with you one-on-one. If somebody's like likes to exercise, if I run or if I lift weights, those are things that we know you already incorporate into conversations with people are NBA fans. Back in the day, I feel like I've gotten away from this, but before it would be like if a new friend was into anime, I'd go with them to like an anime bookstore. Like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I pretty much kind of have like stuff locked down. But there would be times when there's the scripture that says, "Become all things to all people, so that by all means you might save some." So like, the idea is you become like people in their interests or their passions and their hobbies, and the idea is you might be able to save them if you become like the people.
Yeah.
Which I think it served me well as far as like learning the flexibility of figuring out other people's hobbies and not just sticking onto mine. But again, like there's so many friends that I have now that we already have so many common interests that I probably just don't have the bandwidth for more. But saving and creating space for new friends based on the possibility of them getting closer to Jesus or something like that is always like a window of I'm gonna keep space for people who want to get to know Jesus for the first time or who want to mature in Jesus. So that's one way. So me to summarize that, I keep lanes. Does somebody want to do a church activity with me? There's like 4 different ways to do that. Does somebody want to exercise with me? There's ways to do that. We play on our softball team. We have T-ball. There's volunteering in the community. Does somebody want to do that with me? Or does somebody want to go to and serve in the community? But it's something likely oriented around that. And then with the podcast, I could just have people on and have conversations like this.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's the way I do it. Any comments on you and how you navigate friendships or
Make
friends as an adult?
I'm really never in situations where I can like make friends. Like I don't meet new people. I don't go places where there's other moms, I wouldn't particularly want to make friends with, someone who just turned 21 is going out to the clubs, doing all this stuff. I can't do that either.
How would you categorize what we do with softball?
I
I would say those are new friends.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. I guess get involved into things, right?
Yeah.
That is true. Well, I guess I really didn't think about that either because I'm mainly there with you, Diamond.
Yeah.
You, sister, and uncle.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing I think about. But yeah, I guess I have made some new friends there. What do I categorize as a friend? Let's see. Let's think about that. What do I think a friend is?
While you're thinking about that, we'll read Matthew Brown's comment. He said, just talk to people, inspire others with like interest. For instance, poetry. Get them. All right, go ahead. What's a friend?
Okay, so a friend to me is somebody that you can call whenever, somebody that you respect. You respect them, you respect the way they think, you respect their opinion, let's say like that. So it's somebody that you can call, you can talk to. And if, let's say, for you, I guess it's different, but like for me, I need a friend when I need somebody to lean on, like somebody to talk to about things or, get advice from, or even like if they feel comfortable to come to me for advice, just kind of try. A friend to me is somebody who's like on the same level as you. So am I super comfortable with everybody that we play softball with? Like, yeah, I'm comfortable with some of them, but like everybody on the team, probably not. You know what I mean? I don't really know everybody like that on a personal level. Am I going to call anybody up on the softball team? Probably not either. So they're not so much like a friend to me as much, right? But like my cousin, so my Roy's wife Nora, so she has a daughter, and we're cousins, right? But we don't hang out that much. So recently, I've been trying to put in more effort to like hang out with her because she also has a daughter.
Yeah.
So I think her and I are friends, more now that we've been putting in more effort to hang out with each other. So I think that's one thing, one way. I feel like if you're trying to make friends, it's something you're gonna have to put effort into regardless. Like if you don't just have them join, like you said, like if I don't just have somebody join my softball team or become come along with anything that I'm doing, then it is something that I genuinely have to put more effort in.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, how you make friends as an adult.
Yeah.
Have to carve out time in your schedule for said person, or even I mean,
Yeah, and I probably even have like categories and some people are like, oh, like the funny thing is whenever somebody criticizes the thought process or whatever, I'm always like, most of the time, if I'm talking about a topic, whether I'm talking about something in my marriage or I'm talking about friendships, that's an actual, like I have data, and it's weird to say that about friends. I have data that proves that there's something special between my friends and I, whether it's the number of marriages or weddings that I've been asked to be in, or the number of these situations where it's like special honor that's connected with being friends. And so I have this information that to me is irrefutable. So then when it comes to categories of friends, like, yeah, there's innermost circle, there's like the inner circle, there's the outer circle, but there's still like within that friend group.
Yeah.
And understanding like what each people, what people are doing in each section. So the idea is, and you and I had a conversation about this within the family context, but the idea of, I often find myself wanting to have friends in my life, not because I need them, but because I want them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and I know you and I probably are a little bit different in that, even the way I think you evaluated your closeness with your siblings was connected to helping each other.
Yeah.
And the way I did it, maybe this is the older brother in me, is I want my siblings in my life, not because I need them, because I want them. I'm saying, like, the truth is, I don't need a lot of people in my life.
Yeah.
As far as like what's good. Now, if you're in my life, it's because I want you here. It's because in the reality, like I don't need you here, but I want you here.
Yeah.
But now, I learned and I challenged that thought in my own self. What you were saying is, when you allow people to do things for you, they feel closer to you, because it's not just about how Derek sees it.
Yeah.
It's also about how they see it, and so that's something I think I'm working on in my friendships, to include my friendships in my family, is what does it look like to allow people to do things for me when even my nature is, no, show people I don't need them, but I still want them to be involved.
Yeah.
So it's some little perspective right there. Well, good. Is a wrap?
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Done for this episode. If you have your advice, you want to respond to these questions about the Ask Men side or the Ask Woman side, put it in a comment. Especially if you're watching from a non-YouTube space, go over to the YouTube channel. And I think what we'll probably end up doing is this is my vision, is we get to maybe the 12 episode mark, then we'll make it into the audio version of the pod. And then when we get to maybe the 25, 26 episode mark, maybe it'll have its own channel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then, so we kind of have different landmarks of, hey, is this, if we're doing this and we're building some consistency, I think the 13 episode mark is like, you're within like the top 90% of podcasts. A lot of people stop at like 10, 11, or 12.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So anyway, all that to say is we're having a good time doing this.
Yeah.
If you want to support us, go over to the Derek D. Guajardo, or if you want to know how to spell that, it's right there, that YouTube page, and subscribe. And we do this every Tuesday at
12:30.
12 p.m., and then you might be in the waiting room for a minute to get to that 12:30 mark. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Let us know what you thought about the pod, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Oh, why did I put the timer? Whoops.
Bye-bye.